Hey Nick, so let's try and rethink God, and then maybe that'll give us a prototype for rethinking the I and its relationship to the body. So God, usually we say God is all powerful, right? That He's really in charge. But what if, in order to create a universe, God had to become incapable of controlling all of it? What if, in fact, the moment of creation was, in some profound way, God letting go of part of itself, such that there would be something other than God? What if God was, kind of bored and wanted a creation and other creatures to interact with? The only way it could do this would be by forgetting itself entirely, by creating a truly distinct, if not totally separate, but distinct world full of what eventually would evolve into distinct individual creatures with their own freedom to a certain extent. But then let's talk about this freedom of these creatures. As Daniel Dennett says, and I agree, freedom evolves. So a single-celled organism doesn't have much freedom. It has more freedom than a molecule because, it displays certain ends, certain purposes in its behavior. It seeks for food and swims away from toxins. So it's free in that minimal sense to navigate its environment and procure various needs. Now, when you get to something like a human being, a very complicated multicellular organism with a nervous system, the freedom in our possession has been increased many, many times. But what is this I that would supposedly be in charge of the body? I agree with you that there is no such thing. Just as there is no all-powerful, all-controlling God. Because if God was all-powerful, then, the problem of evil is pretty difficult to figure out. If God is good or beneficent, then God can't also be all-powerful, because look at all the evil in the world. So, but, we've granted that God is not all-powerful. In order to create, God had to limit itself. So then, if we take that same sort of paradigm and we apply it to the individual human body, the I is not all-powerful. The most the I can do is attempt to persuade the rest of the body. The body is really a very complex civilization composed of trillions of other cells, each performing its own specialized role. The I system is probably somewhere in the brain. It includes memories of our past and anticipations, desires for what our future, what we hope our future would be. But the I, to get the body, which has all these other systems, sexual systems, hunger systems, systems of emotion and attachment and so forth. The I has to relate with all of these other systems. So whenever it wants to do something, it doesn't just decree it and then the rest of the body follows suit, as though it were a slave. The I has to reason with itself. And, we talk to ourselves all the time, and I think that's an example of this process of the I trying to persuade the rest of the body, trying to lure the rest of the body in a certain direction. It doesn't always succeed. Perhaps sometimes it does. Perhaps it's not a complete illusion when it feels as though there's some effort involved in our volitions. That sometimes it takes a little bit more effort on the part of the I to persuade the rest of the body to do something, especially courageous, because, our stomach will get all nervous and afraid, and then the I wants to try to push the body towards this action that is courageous. But here's the thing. We are, whatever we are, we're not only the I. The I is one part of the system. And, it's not even our entire body that is who we are. It's the whole universe that was responsible for creating us, right? And, that includes other people. So my freedom is always a freedom in relationship to everyone else's freedom. And in fact, many of the things that give my I its persuasive powers are gifts to me from my culture. Like language, for example. I can think and plan so much more in depth and in detail because I can speak and think with a language than had I been born in the wild and never encountered a language-speaking culture. So part of my freedom is a gift from others. And so, free will is not ultimate. It's not really my own. It's something that I've developed in conjunction with others. And so, God is not all-powerful. Neither is the I. These are elements that are part of our composition, which attempt to persuade the overall body to move in one direction or another. But certainly the body is persuaded by many other centers of organization, as I referred to before. It's not just the I, but somehow the I is most significant in human beings. We seem most capable of overcoming, instinctual drives because of our awareness of this process of I-ness. But again, it's not ultimate. And you talk about the biological machine, Nick, and certainly there are mechanical aspects to our bodies, to any living organism. But a machine is made of parts, and the parts are put together from the outside by an intelligent designer. A human being, in all the cases that we know about, a human being has to design and build a machine. An organism, it's made of parts also, but it's put together from the inside out. It grows itself, in other words, and it has a certain wholeness, a form that is just as important as the parts it is composed of. And in fact, it is the form of the whole that guides the growth of the individual parts. The parts produce themselves and the whole. And they do this for the sake of the whole. The cells in my heart specialize to be, cardiac cells. The cells in my brain become neural cells. The cells in my liver become liver cells, and kidney cells, and so forth. They all do this. They specialize because of their relationship to the rest of the whole body. That's how the cells know how to differentiate. So the wholeness of my body has certain, if the parts have upward causative effects, the whole has downward causative effects. This is unlike a machine, which only has an artificial form imposed on it. An organism's form is self-imposed, self-produced, and self-maintained. And so it's an important difference. It's, I think, too much of an oversimplification to say that organisms are entirely mechanical. There are mechanical aspects, but there are also purposeful and living aspects, which can't be reduced to mechanisms in a reductive way. So, hopefully that made some sense. I'm sure you probably don't agree with most of it, but, it makes for interesting conversation, doesn't it? Thanks for listening.